robots took my podcast, man.
This is Maindrian Pace, #1 car thief in America. He'll steal anything, anytime, as long as it's insured.
Read my horoscope this morning.
His front, insurance investigation. His business, stealing cars. And now he's got to fill the biggest contract yet.
We gotta deliver over 40 cars to the docks by Saturday.
That's a sad story.
Should have listened.
You can lock your car, but if he wants it, it's gone in 60 seconds. Things don't always go as planned, even for a pro. Sometimes when you steal a car, you get more than you bargained for.
Holy shit!
Here.
Who is it? Police! The whole damn thing's loaded.
Fasten your seatbelt for what Carcraft magazine calls the most hair-raising chase scene ever filmed. Hollywood Reporter says it's a thrill a minute. You owe it to your car to see Gone in 60 Seconds. It's grand theft entertainment. Gone in 60 Seconds. Rated PG.
All right. You've blown it all sky high. Oh, wait, wrong movie.
Let's see. Okay, take a shot of courage here. Let me make sure all my sunglasses are on the dashboard. My grooviest sunglasses.
Yeah, fake mustaches and wigs engaged.
And that too, yeah. All my Fletch disguises in the car. Yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to our podcast. The robots took my podcast. I am Jordan.
And I am Anthony.
Anthony, what movie are we talking about today? This is a movie you introduced me to years ago, which I am really glad you did, actually.
Today we're talking about Gone in 60 Seconds, starring Nicolas Cage, Giovanni Ribisi. Big hit.
Oh, yeah, and Ian Astbury did the soundtrack from The Cult, right?
Yeah.
Jerry Bruckheimer produced.
Yeah, Jerry Bruckheimer produced. No, we are talking about the 1974 movie, Gone in 60 Seconds. This is our fifth movie from 1974 that we've done.
Which, speaking of, I just have to sidetrack. Jerry Bruckheimer goes up cool points for wanting to remake this movie, regardless of how good or bad people think it is. His remake.
Yeah.
The fact that he dug this movie enough to remake it. Anyway, cool points to Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah. Well, I think the writer, director, producer, stunt driver in this movie, H.B. Halecki, gets actual cool points here. This movie is the rare situation where a Hollywood outsider makes a very successful film.
Right.
This isn't just like a low budget film. This is a very strange thing in which somebody makes a movie about something that they have expertise in this case, like car wrecks, uses their skills and talents, and then makes a very fascinating movie.
And car theft and car wrecks and car stunts. It's like, all of it. It's like, eat your heart out, Hal Needham, before Hal Needham almost.
And I think we'll see that this movie was very influential.
It had to be on a lot of movies.
Yeah. And probably the first movie produced and financed by a junkyard company, the H.B. Halecki Mercantile and Company and Junkyard presents.
Wow. Fun facts.
Yeah.
Halecki. Wow. But Halecki is too cool, honestly. Just, I have to say right up. I mean, this movie, as far as like, if there were the lunch tables in a junior high cafeteria in the movie categories, like low budget was the underdog kids table, the rebel kids table, the headbanger kids table. Halecki would be like the king of that table, that lunch table, compared to everything else. Like, Hollywood being like the cool hip table with the jocks, the preps, all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? The popular kids. Yeah. I mean, it holds its own at the underdog table as well, though, in my opinion, at low budget movies. Anyway,
I'd say so. I was just thinking like Tim Burton must be at the goth kids table. Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah,
breaking Hollywood and movies down by junior high lunchroom is fascinating.
He sits at the goth table. Right across from him is Kimberly Pierce, the director of Girls Don't Cry. Right across from him, along with Catherine Bigelow. Yeah, sitting at that same table, like with her leather jacket on,
Yeah, but so Halicki, just to give some background about him, he obviously owned his own junkyard and knew a lot about cars, had a lot of connections in local governments and cities. Probably donated a lot to the police funds each year, or whatever. Bought tickets to the policeman's ball. He had a lot of connections, and really,
Was he a real car thief? I mean, did he really have experience thieving cars? Like, this movie just made me believe he knew what he was like. He knew what all of this was about.
I read somewhere that he was busted when he moved to LA. He was busted as I think it was in his teens, right? His late teens, for being a part of
Hmm.
a car ring. But I mean, that's unsubstantiated. I don't know how true that is. But yeah, I think he definitely has some subject matter expertise in the stealing of cars. I'll tell you that, because we'll get into that a little later. But what really sets this movie apart
Hmm.
from other movies at the time, like, I don't know, maybe what are other car movies at this time? Vanishing Point.
Yeah,
I
Vanishing
don't.
Point came like a few years before this, like
Yeah,
71, I think, or 72, right?
yeah. Movies like that. There certainly were car movies. Badlands. I don't know if that's a car movie, but most movies were about like the American dream, like an automobile, two-lane blacktop, something like that.
Yeah,
The cars were a feature of the story about existentialism or the pursuit of the American dream, kind of like Motorcycles and Easy Rider. This is a
yeah,
movie that is about cars for the sake of cars, the love of cars, at the expense of the plot and the story. It's not talking about anything else
yeah.
but cars and how cool cars are, pretty much.
With Two Lane Blacktop, the car was merely like the wagon in a Western,
Yeah.
on a trail, on a journey. Compared to this is all about the stunts here.
Halicki's just playing with his toys. He's just crashing
Yeah.
cars together. He's taking, if it were a Halicki Western, who cares where they're going to Oregon or whatever? He's just going to crash those wagons into one another constantly.
I feel like even Steven Spielberg's movie Sugarland Express had to be influenced by this movie
Oh
on
yeah,
some level. Even then again, they might be around the same time period, so maybe I don't know. Maybe they were not. Maybe it's just coincidental. Anyway,
but this is like the granddaddy of car movies here.
yeah,
And so, yeah, Halicki, he had his own junkyard. So a lot of the cars, almost, I would say the majority of the cars in this film that you see that are in the shot, he owned them or borrowed them or whatever.
yeah,
Most of these he owned. So he'd buy them at auction. He'd fix them up. They'd be wrecked or something. He fixed them up because he had his pretty much an auto junkyard and repair shop, and he had access to all this stuff.
wow,
And to your
yeah.
point, he probably did a lot of work with insurance companies. That comes through in the movie, and probably knew a lot about the stealing of cars from his
That
prior
I
experience
believe. I
and
mean,
just being in the business.
yeah.
You just kind of wonder, like, this is a little too real at times. And you
Yeah.
think that maybe, I don't want to besmirch the guy's good name, but I will say that, maybe he was into some dirty stuff now and again, but maybe that's just the business. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But decided to make a movie. I think he produced a movie before this. I don't know why or how he got into the film business, but I think he just figured, hey, I can do that.
Yeah. I'm good looking. I can direct. I can be Orson Welles.
He's a cool guy. He just knows his business. And he has screen presence.
I agree. I think he comes off cool, man. Like, and the fact that he did all that himself, yeah, makes him cooler to me.
As I know you like stuntmen, and so a guy who is pretty
I
much
do.
kind of a stunt guy.
But yeah, no, I have a thing about I grew up wanting to be a stuntman when I was a kid. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think Halicki's a bad motherfucker. No joke.
All right, so this movie begins with a Cadillac and some smooth jazz and a car speeding.
Yeah.
And the only credit in the opening sequence here is Eleanor, right? And we meet Eleanor later,
Yeah.
which is very
It says
interesting.
starring Eleanor.
Starring Eleanor.
Like before Halicki's credit, even in the starring part, starring Eleanor. Like we see Halicki. I mean, the director credit, of course, the film by Halicki. Then starring Eleanor. Damn, it's like, whoa. The car is the star. No,
Yeah.
no pun intended.
And so basically, he shows up investigating an accident. He plays Mandrian Pace, if I'm saying that right.
I completely forgot that was his name, honestly.
I forgot that was his name too. Yeah. And so he works for a company called Chase Research, and they investigate accidents for insurance companies to see if it's been, the car's been totaled or if there's some
Yeah.
valve play suspected or something like that. And they're investigating a train derailment. production value, Jordan, that was like a real train derailment. And Halicki was like, grab the cameras, let's go out and film this thing. I don't know why they let him walk around.
Wow. It looked real, I thought. I thought the same thing. I thought they must have gone to a real accident. He must have experience in the background of like special investigative insurance, kind of thing. Where, it deals with like thefts, cars and stolen things basically and all that. So,
yeah, I wonder if it was just like on the fly and they just walked up with this car. And I wonder how much of this was just like, shady filmmaking.
Are these people all like the real people, maybe? Not even actors? Like, he just made them all sign general release. He probably didn't even make them sign general releases. He's too cool for that.
I just think he just walked up and just had the camera guy film and just dubbed it later. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Like McCoy, like Dr. McCoy was right next to Halicki going, are you just going to walk right through this crowd, Halicki?
and so having Star Trek 3 flashbacks.
This is an insurance accident here, Halicki. You're crazy. Calm yourself, Doc.
And so this is an amateurish film. You can see a lot of these scenes were dubbed later.
Oh, yeah. Shot MOS.
So obviously no sound when they were actually recording it out in the wild.
Yeah.
And then later on in the studio, they dubbed the dialogue. And then we cut to an auto auction and a 1970 Dodge Challenger. Misty, there are too many cars in this movie to list. Misty's our friend who likes movie cars, and we just can't stop and point out. But anyway.
Except for the star is a Mustang, 1973
Mustang.
Ford Mustang.
Yeah, we'll meet Eleanor in a little bit, the star of the movie. But the 70s Dodge Challenger is bought at auction. It's totaled. And then we find out that Pace has a chop shop. And it's sort of the side hustle to his insurance business. There's Chase. I don't always understand what's going on here because they didn't really care about a script or a plot.
Okay, I'll admit, I was as great as this movie is. I was confused by that myself a bit watching this again. Even I was just like, wait, what does he do for a living? He is a chop shop, and he's posing as an insurance guy. He really is an insurance guy, a special investigative insurance guy. Okay, anyway, sorry, movie.
Yeah, sorry, movie. Yeah, movie.
Forgive me, movie, for being confused.
Movie, take a knee. Let's have a little talk here. Movie, I don't work in the insurance business. I don't own a chop shop. You got to tell me what's going on here. Yeah. I don't know what a Form 10W40 is. I don't know what this is. I don't know whether it's a 5/8 wrench or I don't know. Come on, movie.
But that's the beauty of this movie too. You're immersed in this world. That's the weird dichotomy, double-edged sword of this whole thing we're talking about.
It doesn't care. It's like, it feels like found footage. It feels like a documentary in a lot of ways. It does.
Yeah, it feels like a documentary. Totally. Yeah, exactly. I don't mean to go, Keanu. It does. Whoa, yeah.
This is totally a documentary.
Camp Coppola, Camp Lucas, whoa.
Cars go crash, whoa. And so anyway, so Chase is the insurance company, investigation company, and then somehow Halicki Pace has this side hustle where what they do is they buy these cars at auction, cars that have been totaled, right? Then they find another one just like it, and they swap out the VIN numbers and all, put the old engine into the new car and that sort of thing.
Okay, that part I did get. Yeah, that was pretty interesting there. That was like if you went back in time to 1973, you might know how to steal a car to get yourself out of a situation.
Oh, damn. This is a how to steal cars, how to hotwire cars. I mean, if you're paying any kind of attention, you're just like, what did they do in Gone in 60 Seconds? Okay, let me do that.
I'm sorry. And just to quote what a critic once said about Martin Scorsese's movies, because he's from the streets, so to speak, having a hot-wired feel, this movie really has a big time, eat your heart out Scorsese hot-wired feeling to it going on. This whole movie feels hot-wired.
Yeah.
Just to get up and go. But that's the beauty of it at the same time. Anyway.
Yeah, Hot Wired was actually the working title for this movie. I'm kidding. There was no working title.
I believed you for a second.
There's a lot of hot wiring that does go on. But it's cool as you're like, oh, that's how you do it. So, yeah. And I love how organized they are about it. Like, what kind of tires does it have? Okay, whatever. Looking at the trim and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
If they were making any of this shit up even, I'd be like, oh, I believed you, Halicki. I really did.
Yeah. Because all
if
the
you
cars...
made any shit up in between, I wouldn't know. Honestly, I couldn't tell.
I mean, I love that part of it. That whole half this movie is about it's a movie about stealing cars,
Yeah.
basically. You
But
know,
Halicki's also using that part of it. I think he understands that the audience doesn't understand shit. They're just going to be like, well, we believe whatever you say to us.
yeah.
I think he understands that too. He's conning us, the audience, too, kind of in a way.
I think he's trying in his best way to tell the audience what's going on.
Oh,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
I think he cares about what he's doing though in this movie. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
say it's all hot wired and cheap, or I think he cared about what he was doing here totally.
Oh,
totally.
God.
He threw himself
Total.
into this 125%,
Yeah, total labor of love.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Jordan, let's say you made a movie about sitting on your couch smoking weed and eating Cheez-Its. That labor of love, things you understand, right?
I would still try to make the best movie if it was in that one space about the couch, sitting in that one space. A lot could happen in that one couch space. Sure. What if just blood started dripping from the ceiling out of nowhere, and where'd the blood come from?
But I'm just saying, take what you know, make a movie out of it. Labor of love.
Wait, is that a slam against me? I'm just joking.
No, I don't think. No. I'm being silly. I don't know.
Yeah, Anthony. Or if you just, made a movie about sitting at your desk working all the time, in front of a computer screen, a lot's going to happen there in that space, right?
It's going to make a fascinating movie. It's going to be hours of me explaining to boring shit to people.
But you would make it interesting, right? You'd make it.
I would hope to.
You'd have to make it yeah.
But then again, who doesn't like a car chase and in wrecks? I mean, that's a lot more exciting than sitting in front of a computer.
It's funny though, I used to read every magazine and article in back in the 90s, mid 90s about independent filmmaking when I was a kid. And the thing they always said, Rodriguez, Kevin Smith would all say the same things. Like, these were heroes of mine because they, not like Tarantino totally, because Tarantino didn't he was almost close to that, obviously. But anyway, Smith, Rodriguez scraped up their money like Halicki did it their own. They all said, use what's around you to make that movie. Yeah. Write a script with what's around you, your assets. Look at what has production value, essentially. Halicki did this before any of them did this.
Yeah.
This was him working totally off that principle. He was using everything around him with production value, totally. Anyway.
Yeah, he used his junk shop, used his connections.
Yeah. Right down to a wedding going on, clearly, that he took advantage of,
Clearly.
Because there's a crowd there.
Filming at his sister's wedding, clearly.
And because in the 1970s, after The Godfather, they love weddings in movies for some stupid fucking reason. Anyway.
But, I mean, yeah, you're right. He did it first, and, he had millions of dollars in a junkyard, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So, anyway, not that this is important, but his brother-in-law, Eugene, is there. And I think, is it Eugene who just got out of the army and he's teaching him the business, or the other brother? I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
His other brother, Larry, and Daryl.
His other brother, Larry?
I'm sorry. That joke never gets old. Anyway.
And so...
old Newhart reference for you kids out there. Bob Newhart, 1980s sitcom. Anyway.
Google it, kids.
Google it, kids.
All right. So he's teaching them the business. And then there's also Atlee Jackson, who's played by George Cole. He's one of the guys who works at the chop shop, and this older guy, and he is cool too. I mean, I would believe him as I think all these people just worked with Halicki. A lot of these people are.
I was gonna say, are you telling me these are all actors? These are all actual
Some are
actors?
Some are actors.
I thought these were real people in this movie, Anthony.
I can't tell. I can't tell. I mean,
they look so real. It all looks like a documentary once again.
I don't know, man. You look at these people's other credits, and it's all like gone in 60 seconds, and they're like, okay.
Yeah. I recognize the hippie from the car wash later on from being in Panama Red, and he's giving a nod, even going, "You got any red, man?" Anyway, yeah, but no, I don't recognize any of these people,
But yeah, anyway, so and then we see a chase. He's at the airport, stealing. This movie has several chases. It's known for one, but he's really bust this lock in this car. And it's crazy. So you can tell he's in the car stealing business. So that establishes everything. And they have a whole thing, the way they do it, which we'll get into it.
You're talking about the scene where they're at the airport in California? I mean, this is all in California, but they're at LAX or something like that? Or are they at Long Beach Airport? Or no?
Yeah.
LAX looks like LAX, baby.
Yeah,
But
they just roll. Yeah, he just rolls up and he steals the car,
they're just literally it's him and his guys and their wives, and the wives are all helping them even, and they're like literally conning their way into people's cars, like
yeah,
just driving them off like away from the airport.
it's crazy how cavalier they are, but yeah,
But it sets up I guess it sets up these people perfectly.
yeah,
anyway.
it's like wait a minute, yeah. So we already see them how they chop up the cars, and now we see like sort of how they steal one. Right, because they have to steal that exact car to replace the VIN number and everything, right?
Yeah.
And so he just rolls up and steals this damn car. It's pretty smooth. Another 1970 Challenger.
Sweet car.
Cut to another overdubbed scene on a boat. So we got a boat now, and so he's getting an offer from some shady South Americans, and they're gonna. This is whenever the movie kicks off here. So they're gonna give him $400,000.
Oh, are you talking about the scene where they have the exposition? It's kind of in voiceover. Sorry, my dog is scratching herself next to nearby right now. That's not me scratching myself. That's my dog. Anyway.
That's not your ID tag as you're scratching yourself?
No, my ID tag doesn't have that much weight to it. My wife gave me a different ID tag when she got me that. Anyway, no, I was going to say,
it's voiceover on a boat.
Is that Halicki doing the other guy's voice is what I was getting to? I'm sorry.
Might be.
I was delaying the question.
He's doing a South American Spanish accent. Yes. I don't need to tell you what will happen if you don't give me the cars.
It sounds just like when I did a bad Sigmund Freud, psychological voice in one student film I did years ago. Where I was like, yes, it was a man who had no relationship. Yes. It was like the worst accent I ever did ever.
And so anyway, but Jordan, $400,000, that's a lot of money back then, but that'd be $2.5 million, give or take.
Yeah.
To deliver 48 specific cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're giving him $200,000 up front. So he has to do Saturday. I think that's 4 or 5 days. And then they give all these cars like code names. So when they talk about them, obviously, it's like, hey, we're going to steal And
they all have feminine names, like Doreen, I think, was the other one. But yeah, they were all feminine names, basically, right?
Yeah. There's a whole list on IMDb and elsewhere on the internet. You could see, like, but they're all female names, one of which is Eleanor. She becomes the film's main character, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Which is very strange. A MacGuffin. Would you call Eleanor a MacGuffin? I don't know, Jordan.
Like the Ark of the Covenant, the suitcase in Pulp Fiction, that kind of MacGuffin. The sphere in Guardians of the Galaxy that everybody's after. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could call that MacGuffin.
The watch that Christopher Walken had up his butt in Pulp Fiction,
that kind of MacGuffin. Oh my God, that is just that one segment.
An object.
One MacGuffin separate from the suitcase.
Imbued with significance in a movie that usually triggers the plot. So, is Eleanor an object? I don't know. What
is Eleanor an object you stored up your butt? I don't know.
Ouch!
Your father stored Eleanor, this Mustang, up his ass. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Well, we'll answer that question later. Is Eleanor?
This podcast needs a little walking every now and then, Anthony.
I'm trying to keep it walking.
Let me install a walk-in, and I'm not talking like where all the meat and the veggies are. No, for cooking. No.
Not a walk-in cooler.
Just
no.
A walk-in cameo. Get it? Ha ha. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to me. I was channeling walking. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to me, Anthony. I'm back. I'm sorry.
All right, Jordan. Snap out of it here.
Get hold of myself. Let me grab the brush my arm here. Okay, I'm back.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
so we cut
give me
to
a Cheerio. Give me a Cheerio, honey. Okay, thank you. Okay,
all right.
Back.
So we cut to a Polish wedding in New York, and this wedding is brought to you by Coke's Beer. I want you to know, Jordan.
Oh, yeah, that beer. Man, this wedding. I wanted to be at this wedding when I was watching it, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
All the beer looked so good. It looked like they were just having such a great time. When Robert De Niro was in this scene. No, I'm sorry. Wrong movie. Yeah, we were talking about Halicki in the wedding in this movie. Sorry. Anyway,
exactly.
Not Deer Hunter.
Jordan's confused with our other podcast, Weddings in Film. And we talk about wedding scenes in movies. Last time we talked about 4 weddings and the funeral. That was an episode.
That's right. Yeah, next week we're going to talk about that Ted Danson movie where there's a big wedding at the beginning that cost about $500,000 for real, and it wasn't even a real wedding, sadly. Anyway, that's all I could do. I couldn't remember the title of that Ted Danson movie.
Oh, Three Men and a Little Lady?
No, it was the remake of the French film Cousine.
Oh,
My
Cousins.
Cousin's Wedding. My Cousin's Wedding, I think it was called.
Cousins, it's called.
Cousins, that's what it was called. Cousins.
Anyway, back to this
1989.
movie. Why are we talking
God,
about
I'm
Ted Danson
sorry.
wedding movies? That's another podcast. Anyway, gosh, on track. So it wouldn't be a wedding without Coke Spear, and it also wouldn't be a wedding without family drama, as Pace tells his cousin Eugene, to postpone his honeymoon and help out with stealing all these cars, or he's going to be voted out of the family car stealing business.
Yeah,
basically.
he tells him right at the wedding, like right at the reception. What a dick move. Like, if my boss told me that, I'd be like, what the hell, man? I'd be mad too. I'm sorry. I related to that.
I mean, yeah.
Plus, his wife's going to be mad at him, man. His wife's going to be pissed at him.
Totally. Are you
He
serious?
is in total
No way.
trouble.
I mean, like you've got to weigh your options: South American drug dealers or pissing your new bride off. I don't know, man.
It's
I don't
cute,
know.
you know, how movies imply stuff like this. Like, yeah, just postpone your honeymoon like it's nothing. Yeah. In reality, try living with that and try telling your significant other how that's
You'll
going to
never live that down, because it'll be like
Yeah.
years later. It'll be like, oh, like that time that you postponed a honeymoon so you could steal all those cars with your friends. Remember that? Do you remember that?
I don't care who you are. Your significant other's not going to be happy about that shit. Come on.
And
Everybody's
ladies,
about to get married is agreeing with me even right now.
that's a red flag. Okay, that's a red
Yeah,
flag.
exactly.
If your guy's got to postpone the honeymoon to steal some cars, you may want to think about that. You may be calling a lawyer, ladies. Anyway,
But Anthony, did you see this guy's office? I mean, he's got a nice office. You can see how
That's
much money he's bringing in from all this business with this guy. Halicki's
cool
character,
office.
you know.
yeah, a lot of wood paneling.
Anyway,
So Eugene's pissed off about that. And then we get this wonderful, very 70s scene, an out of focus, it's supposed to be soft focus, but an out of focus scene where Pace and his girlfriend, his fiance, so he's Mandrian Pace and she's
Yeah.
Pumpkin Chase, right?
yeah.
Pumpkin Chase. Is that even a name? Is that a
I don't
human
know.
being's name? Pumpkin
Yeah.
Chase.
Pumpkin Chase. That's actually her name? Really?
Yeah.
That sounds like a drink at Starbucks, like a seasonal drink at Starbucks, like during the fall, right? Like, I'll have the pumpkin chase, okay? Can you make sure that there's no fat, that there's fat-free milk in that? Oh, the fat-free milk is up here. Okay, thank you.
But if they got married to be the Pace Chase wedding, I don't know. I don't even
That's
know
how
what
their
that
business
means.
is going to be named now.
The Pace Chase.
The Pace Chase business, yeah. Insurance company. But yeah, hey man, you talk about the focus in the scene. Halicki is so cool. He doesn't need focus. He can have a blurry love scene in his movie. Okay.
But it's like, that's such a thing in the 70s movies, like especially, we saw it, or
Yeah.
even 60s, because we're 70s.
Two lovers walking in the park, though, on a sunny day.
Yeah, because
talking.
we last saw that in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, right? It was just such a
Yeah.
trope in the 70s.
No, you're right. It's in every. I was watching this old Charlton Heston movie called Skyjacked, where they showed the flashback the same way. It looked like this another movie from the 70s, The Way We Were, where it all looks like a credit card commercial, as Sidney
Yeah.
Pollack once said.
Yeah, and so they're walking, doing that lover's walk, talking about future plans, and
Yeah.
and Pumpkin is guilting him into marrying her and buying a house.
I love how in these 70s movies during these scenes, they never show a couple arguing on a lovely day like that. Because that can happen in reality too, in my experience.
It's
Anyway.
the 70s. It was always sunny. It was always golden hour in the 70s, and everybody was
Yeah.
in love, and nobody's arguing. The Sessions' greatest hits of summertime love is playing.
Exactly. It looks like,
Darling,
literally.
if you want me to be,
Sessions presents the all-time greatest love songs you've been after.
Now that's what I call 70s love montages. Anyway.
Featuring Bread, Fleetwood Mac. Oh.
Yeah. And so anyway, they're not arguing because he has a straight up pimp outfit, dude. He's got this like long trench coat, this fedora. He looks like, this is a weird reference, but from the same year,
Yes.
he looks like Milky Way, the white pimp from a pimp movie called Willie Dynamite.
And because the scene is blurred and shot during like magic hour, it looks like the French painter Monet was trying to like do a watercolor about a pimp, and a woman.
Yeah.
Or is that just me? I don't know. Maybe that's what I saw in the scene.
Yeah. It's impressionistic for sure. But speaking of impressionistic filmmaking, so we go back to the airport, and this is when you were talking about like they come back to the airport with the wives and everything, and then they're just like just for funsies, pick up a couple cars at the airport on their way back home.
They make it look so lax too. It's amazing.
Oh man,
like and just so like easy to do. Like you're like, man, people in the 70s weren't very smart, were they? They were just
leaving
people in the 70s that fucking dumb. This is why laws came about after the 70s.
They were just walking around in a haze. I don't know.
Were they all on drugs in the 70s?
Yes. Yes.
Anthony?
They're leaving keys in their car. Like, who the hell?
In 1970s Southern California, we don't care. It's okay. Everything is safe. And yeah, we had the Manson murders here a few years ago, but we're all good now.
Except cars at the airport, because I recall seeing the commentary a long time ago. And in this scene, it wasn't the airport at all. It was like the mall or the convention center or something like that.
Oh,
and they just had people standing in front of parking meters so that you couldn't tell, and Foley in like the airplane sounds, right?
Oh, so they just brought their own cars in and shot this kind of like real quickly and had people,
their own cars.
People standing in front of them.
Yeah, and had people standing in front of the parking meter so that you couldn't see them.
That's
and then
clever.
you can actually see one of the parking meter holes between this dude's legs. It's just like,
Wow.
Anyway.
All right, listen, film students out there, 101, film students listening, watch Halicki's first movie, Gone in 60 Seconds, or second movie, I guess it is technically. Anyway, if you want to learn about filmmaking 101, getting this shot, and filming in an area, well, you got away with a lot more in Southern California in the 70s. Anyway, but you get the point. Watch this movie, kids.
That's how gonzo and rogue filmmaking this was. I mean, they were just out there like making something look like something.
Yeah,
and that's brilliant. That's just brilliant. Like
it looks like
had
a scale though.
I don't know. That's just part of it. Just making do with what you have. So you're right. This is a film class here. This movie.
Mm-hmm. Like every time I've watched this movie, it's like that. Once again, I feel like I'm lazy watching it. Kind of like I should have done this movie already. Not a movie with car chases and wrecks and stunts, but taking what I know and love and incorporating it into a movie like what I mean in the perfect kind of way. But that's not easy to do, obviously.
Yeah, or is it? I don't know. It helps to have $1 million in the business. I don't know. Anyway, so they just steal a Rolls Royce at the airport just for funsies, and they see Eleanor, a 1973 Mustang, which is on the list. And they're like, okay, they don't steal that one, but then they get the license plate number. And because they're in the insurance business, they can look up all these things. They have all these connections, right?
Yeah.
Or databases, whatever, however they figure out where cars are insured. They only steal insured cars because they can be tracked. And I think on some level, these cars can be replaced. It's not like you're stealing from people who aren't going to get the money back. So I don't know if that's for a moral reason or some other reason, but that's really the caveat of this film around their stealing them. They have to be insured.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we get a wonderful heist planning scene. And Jordan, I loves me a heist planning scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we get Pace, and he's just sitting in a wig and a mustache. He looks like an extra off of 70s porn.
Yeah.
He does. He's handing everybody their wigs, and here you go. Here's what we're doing.
Another thing important when you're stealing cars, disguises. Apparently, that way they don't get the look at. They get a look at you. You don't look like your normal self, which is smart, kind of. I think.
Yeah, the sense you get is these folks are professionals. The capital P, man. They know what they're doing.
Like Pacino says in Heat, these guys were rock and roll to the T.
Yeah. And then Atlee, he hands Atlee's a black guy, but he hands him this gray, straight-haired wig. And I was hoping Atlee would put it on, but no, he didn't.
Yeah, I was disappointed in that too.
But he's talking about one of the cars they want to steal, which is a famous car. And he's like, oh, I saw a picture of Lyle Wagner and Playgirl with that car or something like that. And I was like, whoa, Atlee's reading Playgirl? Wait a minute. Like, is there something you want to tell us?
He did say Playgirl. Yeah.
Is Atlee out and proud? Is this movie woke? I don't know. Was it a joke?
The way he stares at that girl later on, he swings both ways, I think.
That is true. That is true. Well, the camera stares at that girl as well. So yeah. This is the 70s.
Playgirl had some good magazine articles, Anthony.
He was reading it for the articles. Yeah, it was,
I'm just saying.
Like that spread with Lyle Wagner in it, and they were talking about cars, so why not? Yeah.
Yeah. I learned all about Donald Trump's sexual preferences in there one time, just reading it, like.
Oh, gross. Donald Trump was in Playgirl? Anyway. Anyway.
Just in an interview I read.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just making up bad jokes now.
Ladies love Donald Trump's take on things. Anyway, it was the best interview ever. No one's ever done an interview like this. People are saying it's the best interview. I don't know. Better even than Lyle Wagner's. Better than Lyle. So anyway, they have these cool pimped out briefcases with a bunch of car thieving tools, walkie-talkies. I mean, they're completely, they've got the gear to do the stealing. And then they get to stealing, and then they go to a local racetrack, and we see the Goodyear blimp, not for the first time in this movie. So Halicki must have known the Goodyear blimp people somehow.
Or he knew it was going to be there, maybe, at a certain time of day, I guess, maybe.
But the little digital screen there on the blimp, the word crawl says, like, lock your cars or they could be gone in 60 seconds. We have a title, Jordan.
Man,
Boom.
You're right. He must have had total, people in the city must have loved him, I guess, because just being a local guy, which is, once again, I mean, this is like Romero shooting in your hometown, like, how George Romero would shoot everything in Pittsburgh because he knew everybody there. It was easier to get things cheaper there when you shoot in your hometown, basically. So the Long Beach, Southern California area, this part, and Carson, I guess, was all Halicki's, like, hometown area, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Man, just once again, Film School 101.
Yeah, and then we get our first or second car chase scene of the movie. It's basically a night chase scene where they go up and steal Eleanor, the 73 Mustang. And the owner of the car, with his wife, it's pretty funny. There's a lot of humor in this movie. And the owner of the car, he's supposed to be some big insurance guy, we find out later, but he looks like this alcoholic loser. He's walking the dog and he sees the car getting stolen. He jumps in his other car and then gives chase, right? And so we get this really, really good, what would normally be a great chase scene in the movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you're talking about how, like, they steal this car from the driveway of this married couple with the wife has curlers in her hair. Didn't we meet them earlier too at the airport, kind of like the wife at the airport? They almost tried to steal his car, I thought.
It reminds me of that scene from Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It's very similar.
It's weird too. It reminds me of the scene in Gremlins, like, for some reason, like Dick Miller and the wife in Gremlins.
And the Gremlins steal his Challenger.
Exactly. When the Gremlins steal his Challenger, there's a plow that comes through the living room anyway, kind of thing. But yeah. And so it's a night chase scene. The owner of the car is chasing in his wife's car, I guess. And there's a lot of humor. Basically, the cops stop him. Yeah. And he's like, no. I love it. Like, no. Like, this guy stole my wife's car. But he looks crazy and he's in his bathrobe and pajamas and, I guess he
like
smells
alcohol.
of alcohol. Yeah, because we saw him drinking too, like, and he was like tugging off a bottle of brandy or whiskey right off the bottle. I mean, so clearly I guess he reeks of, like, he smells like a distillery, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, and the people at the gas station are like shaking their head looking at him.
Yeah,
so funny.
Because in 1974 they frown upon that if you're drinking and driving in 1974. They just. No, anyway, I don't know.
I was going to say, no, they frown if you're not drinking and driving in 1974. Like, get this guy a beer and send him home.
And that's what they did. We didn't see that scene, but that was what happened later on.
So the cops believe him, and they're like, okay, we'll take you home, and then we'll see what's up with your car. You say your car is stolen.
They're like, you drink a beer. I believe in liquor before beer, motherfucker.
That's your problem. You're drinking beer before liquor. Never sicker. And so they take him home, and guess what? The Pace has returned the car. So it's just really funny, I thought. Like, they come home, and the car's in his driveway, and it's like, wham, wham.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, a lot of wah-wah in this movie.
Yeah, then we get a lot of car stealing scenes, pumpkins calling limos, and they're just stealing the limos. Like the limo driver. Yeah, montage.
Didn't the Bruckheimer remake later on have like a whole montage of theft too? I remember like this.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's some even scenes that they really almost copied, shot for shot a couple times. But anyways, yeah, so I guess Halicki must have known somebody with the tiger because Atlee gets in the car. He's about to steal this Rolls, I think, and it's like, or a Cadillac, I can't remember. And there's a tiger in the back. I mean, God, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a silly scene. But I mean, Atlee, the guy that plays Atlee is a really good actor. I mean, he's like the best actor in this movie. He's the most natural. Most natural. He's not trying to mug. He's unaware of the camera, like Monty Hellman once said about Dennis Wilson. Just totally unaware of the camera.
Yeah, 2-lane blacktop.
In two-lane blacktop, yeah.
Yeah, so, but anyway, they encounter a problem. The adjuster that handled the loss on that Challenger from the beginning of the movie noticed it in the car lot. He's like, wait a minute, I just totaled that car, and then here it is sitting in the car lot again. And so then now Pace has to go steal the car back.
Yeah.
Before, like, there's an investigation into that, because they can get busted, right? So he takes a tow truck, hooks up the car, and a security guard sees him. And we get maybe the first, and I don't know, last tow truck towing a car chase in movie history.
Oh, yeah. This is before Fast and Furious once again. Before,
any of those.
Even before Bobby Joe and the Outlaws stole a bank vault, or the Fast and Furious movies stole a bank vault.
Yeah, and so like I said, it's a crazy chase in a tow truck, and it's awesome. And then at the end of it, he gets away and they crush the Challenger, and that's heartbreaking to see. That's a beautiful classic car, and they just crush that bitch. Oh,
all the car wrecking really is heartbreaking in this movie to watch. I mean, some of these cars are just like, oh my God, okay, stop, you're ruining it, you're breaking it, man, stop, man, you're breaking it.
It's a California car, man, what are you doing, dude? Original owner.
It's a 1973 Ford Mustang, man, what the fuck, man?
And so anyway, then there's a bunch of stuff, and they have to give, like, the dude with the big Ole Bronco some screen time there. I don't know if he gave him some money, he was producing it, but he's bitching about his Bronco being stolen. So there's a couple high-profile cars in this movie, and the insurance company's like freaking out because like, oh, we've got to cover all these damn cars, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is they steal a Cadillac. And remember this scene?
Right.
They steal this Cadillac and they bring it into the shop, right? And what do they find in the trunk, Jordan?
The heroin? Is that this scene where they find the heroin?
Atlee steals a Cadillac, and then they open up the trunk, and then they pull out these golf clubs, and under the golf clubs, there's like $1 million in heroin. Like, holy shit.
They find all that, and this is where you find out that these guys kind of have a moral conscience, maybe, right?
Yeah, they're not drug dealers.
Because Halicki's character, I can't remember, he's just like, take it back. Exactly. He's basically telling me, right, to take the car right back to where they stole it from the spot, where they stole it from, and leave it right back there. Leave it as was.
Yeah, he doesn't probably want those kind of problems. Like, someone's going to look for this heroin. He doesn't want any part of that.
Yeah.
And it could be it could be the South Americans' heroin too. It could be full circle.
Which that's probably what it was. He's just being a smart too. He's not mixing with some other friggin' trade like that because he's only into stealing cars. That's his deal. Why would you want to mess with it? Yeah.
I might be a thief, but I'm not a drug dealer.
Yeah.
But Eugene wants to sell the heroin. He's like, man, we're rich. This is $1 million worth of heroin. And then what happens?
He's like, no, we're not taking it back. I remember that, yeah.
And then what happens?
Oh, and then we get that. Police, open up. Who is it? Police, open up. And then, they're trying to hide the heroin, sweep it up and all that. They're trying to cover everything. And I love this part, too, because this is where you see the James Bond contraption they have in the water heater in the corner.
Yeah. They have a fake water heater where they hide all the stolen VIN numbers and everything and license plates and all that. Yeah.
And Atlee puts them all back in there and then pushes a button and it all goes right back in. It goes back into the water heater like Jurassic Park style. Hiding the formula kind of shit. But I love that. I love anything James Bondian in a movie like this.
But I mean, do you think they built that for the movie, or did Halicki really have a water heater compartment situation?
That's what's intriguing. I wonder, did they really? Because you never know, man. I mean, truth is stranger than fiction, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't know,
or did
man.
Or was it just for the movie to make it look cooler?
Yeah. So the cop comes by and
Hawkins, by the way.
Christopher Hawkins.
Hey, Hawkins. By the way, drink every time they say Hawkins in this scene. Take a shot. I noticed that about the scene big time. I'm sorry.
Hey, Hawkins. Yeah. What's going on, Hawkins? Hey, Hawkins,
hang on,
can you do this?
Hawkins just arrived.
Hi, Hawkins. How's it going, Hawkins?
Hey, what you boys doing?
Nothing, Hawkins. Just hanging out here, working late, Hawkins.
Hanging out. This is not a time machine. It's not a DeLorean time machine. No, Hawkins. This is a weather experiment, Hawkins.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one.
I couldn't help it.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between those two. Interesting.
I personally think, I almost wondered if the two Bob Zemeckis, Bob Gale, watched this before used cars.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a great
possibly.
movie, Used Cars, but man, they have like that same kind of parallel plot at the end. I realize where they have to have
Get
a bunch of cars. They have to round up a bunch of cars. Like it's like a weird ass western once again, where they got to round up a bunch of cattle or something to make somebody happy or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, so the cops are asking about this specific car, Manta, this race car that was stolen, and they're just like, this is the 35th expensive car that's been stolen around here in the last 3 days. Do you guys know anything about this? And Pace is like, really? Huh, what's a Manta? Really? Well, I don't know.
You don't say.
A lot of cars get stolen, Hawkins. I don't know. Hey, why don't you get in this Cadillac and, check it out? And it's like, so it's a stolen car and the policeman's like, oh, this is nice. And that's when Atlee notices the heroin, like they dropped the bag of heroin.
Wait. I'm sorry. I was confused. You mean Hawkins was a real policeman?
Hawkins was a real police officer, yeah.
Boy, he was lax. Maybe it was 1970s version of police.
He was drunk. He was off duty.
Yeah, he just was really, man, it was like they were friends, man.
Somebody just stole his Cadillac full of heroin, and he was looking for it. No, but Pace has him like turn on the car, and the exhaust blows. He's like, "Back this car up." The exhaust disperses the heroin, and he backs the car up over the pile of heroin. I just think that's genius. That was genius.
So clever. I thought that was so clever as well. Yes, Sir Halicki. Props to you, sir.
Well done,
that's a moment. Yes, exactly.
And so anyway, Hawkins is leaving and he says, well, there have probably been 5 cars stolen since I've been here. And then Pace says, oh, I don't think so, Hawkins.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
And so, and then they set the damn Cadillac on fire. Like, what the hell? Like, I don't know why they didn't take it back. I don't know. Anyway,
they take it out in the middle. Oh yeah, they take it out in the middle of nowhere, and Pace just sets it on fire with gasoline. And of course, it just goes on fire because cars actually don't blow up. In real life, honestly, folks, unless you put dynamite in there. But
I noticed that too, Jordan. That's in my notes too. It's like this car does not blow up. Like we were watching.
It does like a car should do in real life. It just flames up.
Yeah, like we were watching Humanoids from the Deep, and every time somebody looked at a car, it exploded violently in that movie.
Yeah. I found that out on some documentary I watched recently. Cars, when they catch on fire like a house does. They don't blow up though, unless there's something that's going to make it blow up in the car, like dynamite or whatever. Which usually that's why they have to rig a car in a movie or TV show to do that. Yeah. Or now you have digital to make it safer, of course. Digital explosions, computer. Anyway, I digress. Yeah. Back to this movie, sir.
Yeah. So anyway, Pumpkin wants to return Eleanor because there's an ad in the paper from the owner. It says, please return my car. No questions asked. It's not insured. Yes. And then she's like, we can't steal this. So you're talking about the morality of this movie. This movie has an interesting morality.
The character's morality of yes.
Yeah, we can't steal this particular car because it's not insured. Okay, we can steal all these other cars, these one-of-a-kind cars that are irreplaceable. But this person put an ad in the paper, so let's take it back.
That's their own personal insurance, no pun intended, and that's their own CYA, Anthony.
Yeah.
Only steal a car that is insured.
And I mean, there's probably legit reasons for that. So maybe it doesn't get investigated further than, I don't know.
It must have been a lot easier to not be insured and drive around without tags or whatever in the 1970s too. Cops must have been more lax, unless they were really after you for something like in this movie, of course, but unless you're a person of interest.
Yeah.
But they must have been like, okay, you don't have any insurance? Okay, just go along. Get insurance next time, okay? Come back.
So then, as they're talking about this, Eugene is bust out of the bathroom, and he's pissed because Pace burned up $1 million in heroin in that car.
Oh, and then, boy, is he pissed, man.
Yeah.
His mustache just goes like the other way all of a sudden. That big handlebar 70s mustache he's got there.
Yeah, he kind of a little bit looks like Meathead from Archie Bunker, Rob
Reiner.
Rob Reiner.
Oh, from the 70s, Rob Reiner.
Yeah,
Meathead
he goes to Rob Reiner's mustache coiffier.
He's Meathead's cousin.
Meathead's cousin. And so anyway, so he's pissed off it, and then Pace just kicks his ass. All this is important because it's the string of a plot that's happening in the movie. This whole the sidebar about the drugs and everything, but it's still interesting.
I do wonder what kind of. I wonder what this. Is there a script for this movie that I can read?
Everything I've read is there really wasn't a script. Halicki was
Is there
not
a shot list?
Yeah, pretty much that. Here's what I read, whatever, from the editor who really edited a bunch of like Saturday morning cartoons and shit.
Oh wow, an animation guy.
He would just get the footage. Like Halicki would go out with the camera and a couple people and just shoot the footage and be like, "This is what this scene's about."
Yeah.
And didn't really like have a script per se, except for a couple of those big scenes. And you can tell people are pretty much ad-libbing for most of this movie. That's why it's lightning in a bottle. The fact that it doesn't look like absolute shit and the performances aren't terrible. They're actually quite good because people don't have a script to go from. It's like, here you're saying this in this scene. He's like, okay, blah, 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 blah. You know?
Also, these are people that clearly are non-actors mostly. No experience, no timing. But they have a natural quality for that reason too, like a air of reality.
Yeah, and so Pace is taking Eleanor back, and so he puts on his wig. It's like that old Beastie Boys Sabotage video. That's what, when they're wearing their wigs and their ties. I mean, that's what it looks like to me a lot. It's funny.
Yeah, just like the way they look in the Sabotage video where they're making fun of the cop shows from the 70s. Yeah, and they got the bad wigs and mustaches. Yeah. Listen, all y'all, it's Sabotage. I can't stand it. I know you planned it. Sorry.
Karaoke with Jordan. Okay. So we get this great scene where he's walking past all the cars that they've stolen in a warehouse. It is just like a museum of vehicles.
Are you talking about this montage sequence where they shot a strip of film of his girlfriend and Halicki looking at all the cars with this lovely song, the Lois Lane Blues, singing over it? She's got the Lois Lane Blues. She needs a man. She's been alone. She needs a Superman. Whatever. Sounds like Charles Manson wrote it, but yeah.
And so Pumpkin is crying, right? Why is she crying?
Pumpkin Chase is crying. Why?
Pumpkin Chase.
Because she's alone with that cigarette in the office. There's no.
Is it guilt? I mean, is it guilt from stealing all the cars? She's missing her pace. She's out of pace. No, she's guilt. Is it guilt from stealing all these cars? Is it because of Eleanor? Like, the world may never know.
I thought she was. I think it's just because she's in love with him, but she can't quite nail him down. She wishes she didn't have to just sit there and do all of his side work for him with stealing these cars. She wants to be a kept woman, Anthony. That's what she wants, Anthony. She's got the Lois Lane Blues.
Oh, wow. Is that what the song? Maybe that's what the song. Oh.
But I think it's clever that he just shot a whole strip of film of her smoking a cigarette around it and just, took the camera around the desk with her smoking a cigarette, like gazing longingly. And then he shot a whole strip of film with himself looking at all these cars he's got for this movie, his assets for this movie. And then he just crossed them over. He just intercut them to this song that they made up for this movie, Lois Lane Blues, And of course it's made up for this movie. Wisely, kids, because he avoided licensing. Kids, once again, filmmaking 101. See, songs that you like cost money to use, kids. A lot of money. If I want to use a Fleetwood Mac song, it's going to cost me about, most of the budget of my movie, probably. Even more so than I even have for the movie.
Yeah, there's a 2000 release out there that I think omits a lot of the original songs and original credits and things. So
yeah. Oh my God, I wonder what the theatrical version was like then. Because, this is the version I saw. It was the Blu-ray version, which is the DVD version, right? Which is different from the theatrical version a little bit with the music, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. She's crying. She's pregnant with emotion. There's a lot going on in this scene, and Halicki wants you to figure it out. Look, just whatever you want to impart on this scene and why she's crying and why we spend 10 minutes here, just do it. Whatever. She's upset because, I don't know, they ran out of her favorite ice cream flavor. I don't know. But the Lois Lane thing makes sense. If he's Superman, she's Lois Lane, and sort of living in his shadow. Yeah, I like that.
Doesn't he say that in the dialogue, something like that? I'm not a Superman or something like that.
But anyways, so back to this movie. Eugene is pissed off because he got his ass whooped and because all the heroin was burned up. So he calls Hawkins. Remember Hawkins, the cop? Right.
Hawkins. Hey, everybody, it's Hawkins. Oh, hi, Hawkins.
Hi, Hawkins. Everybody, Hawkins is here.
Hawkins. wish we had the live studio audience with Hawkins. Like when the uncle shows up on a sitcom. Oh, it's Hawkins. Oh, yeah.
Did I do that? Hawkins. No, Hawkins actually had his own cop show in the 70s, and he would always show up when some illegal shit was going on, but he would be easily distracted, and
Did he really?
Move all the stolen goods out of the room, and Hawkins would never solve the case because he was just so gullible.
Did he really? Was this a real show?
Hawkins?
Oh my God. Even if you're joking, I want this to be real.
Ran for 10 episodes on ABC, yeah.
Half a season, wow.
Because he never solved the case because he was such a bad cop.
Fuck the movie. I want to talk about Hawkins now, Anthony.
Tonight on Hawkins. Hawkins fails to stop a prostitution ring.
He just shows up, looks around. He maybe collects a little evidence, but it doesn't really. But he walks away. He doesn't. Nobody's in handcuffs. There's no warrants, even no search warrants, even.
Hey Hawkins, my wife just baked a cake. You want a slice? Oh, sure, looks good. Anyway, so Hawkins actually does something, and he calls these other two cops to do a stakeout at the International building.
He
there
picks
in
up
Long
the
Beach,
phone
I think.
and the CB radio, whatever. Yeah.
Stereo.
He does something.
He actually does something.
He takes action, Hawkins. He's a man of action, Hawkins.
Yeah, and so the cops are staked outside the International apartments there, and then there's a K-Fox radio station at the top. And so Pace's brother drops him off, and they're going to get. And I forgot to say, the reason they're going into this apartment is they saw another Eleanor. They returned to the first Eleanor. They see another one, and they made mental note of it. Like, there's another Eleanor if we need it, and it belongs to this radio DJ.
A side note about the K-Fox thing. That's the only parallel I see with Vanishing Point, kind of, and the car chasing thing.
Yeah.
Is that there's a radio station DJ kind of helping describe the action a little bit, I guess, later on in the movie.
Yeah.
Just like Cleavon Little was, I guess, within Vanishing Point, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or like, what's her name in The Warriors almost? Kind of, but they don't really follow through on that. Yeah, you're right, but it's not really as... It's played for comedic effect, I think, in this movie. But you're right. Good call.
Although he looks like a real DJ compared to Cleavon Little, actually.
I thought he was. I couldn't find that. I think he was a real DJ. I mean, because he can't act for shit, so I assume that he's, a real DJ.
He seems real like everybody else in this movie.
And so anyway, the cops are staking out. They see him walk up. They see Pace walking up in his wig and his mustache.
Yeah. Still looking cool. Goddamn Halicki.
Yeah, he's so cool. Sabotage.
Even with his mustache and wig, Halicki looks cool, man.
He can steal my car any day. Anyway, don't steal my car, Halicki.
Yeah, don't steal mine either. It's just it's a
so
Hyundai.
the car alarm goes off as he's driving off there, and he stops. And then the cops are like, "Oh, so this idiot must have forgot his car alarm." Like, these cops are just as bad as Hawkins.
Car alarms were big in the 70s.
I know. I didn't know they had car alarms in the 70s.
No shit. I'm like, they didn't have car alarms back then. No fucking way. I don't buy this movie.
Halicki invented car alarms. And so the cops, they turn on a camera. Jordan, I don't know if you caught that. They're like, it's early dash cam footage. So the cops had like a camera in the back seat.
Halicki did this for dramatic effect, but he invented dash cams. Wow.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
He invented sunglasses on the dash. Dude, and dude, here's true confession time, Jordan. I actually keep my sunglasses on the dash because Halicki did it in this movie. To this day.
I do that same thing on my lunch breaks. When I go to sit in my car on my lunch break at work, I do the same thing. I put my sunglasses on the dash when I have to look at my cell phone for something. Yeah.
It's just a cool move. It's just a cool move. So anyway, the cops realize, oh, wait, this guy's stealing this car when he rips the alarm wires out of it. And but Pace is smart. He looks over and he sees the cop staring at him in that unmarked car.
Yes.
And then, Jordan, what does he say?
Oh, is this where he says, I should have checked my horoscope this morning?
Yeah. Classic line.
My God. And it's just like, you just know it's going to get good all of a sudden. And it does. It does. This movie pays off.
this is when the movie hits the accelerator, but he does buckle up for safety. He does buckle up.
This is where the movie shows you its spectacles. It shows off. And it's got car chases galore, folks. I mean, and this is real shit. This is before CG. They did this shit for real. This is beyond glamour, Hollywood glamour stunt even. Halicki did this shit for real, man. People working with him did this shit for real. Whatever, man. I mean, this is real fucking, oh my God. Anyway, Anthony, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is when the movie takes the glasses off the dash.
Yes.
And then just like strap yourself in because you get a 40-minute car chase scene. To me, I mean, I don't know if we're going to go through the whole thing, but it's creative, it's funny, it's interesting, it's thrilling. There's not one moment in which you're like, how the hell is he going to get out of this? There's like 10 moments in which you're like, holy shit, they've got him boxed in, or how the hell, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I think this is like equivalent to the trench run Death Star sequence in A New Hope, Star Wars. This is like the ending concert sequence at Live Aid in Bohemian Rhapsody. It's equivalent on that level. It's just like this movie's that. It's the chariot race in Ben-Hur. It's all of this because it's literally the last 40 minutes where we get nothing but car chase galore going on, stunts galore, and
it's the pod chase sequence in Phantom Menace.
Exactly. I mean, no joke. This is Halicki. Oh my God. This is where you see Halicki's vision come to life. This is truly where he had vision, though. Clearly, he was just like, I want to see this kind of stunt. I want to see that kind of stunt. I don't know how to do it. Nobody can tell me how to do it. I'm going to have to figure it out myself. Here goes.
Yeah. But, I mean, maybe some people think like a 40-minute chase sequence is boring. Yeah. But he, as a filmmaker, he's not, I mean, this is some dude, right, who owned a junkyard, who conceived of these intricate stunts, and all of this is like, wouldn't this be cool, and it's all stitched together. And I guess the editor should really get a lot of praise for this. Warner Lighton.
Maybe that's what this needed too, was a guy from animation. Who better to edit than to edit a movie? Like, that's what they had from, I mean, Star Wars is made up of a lot of animation people too.
It's a cartoon of violence and car wrecking.
That's what you need for there's a lot of footage in this. There's a lot of cuts in these.
Oh man.
In this though. You can tell.
And it's all very visual. There's not a lot of dialogue in this movie. And what dialogue there was, I'm sure, terrible.
I mean, the only thing's comparable, once again, Vanishing Point or maybe even French Connection, but French Connection only went on for so long. This goes on for the last 40 minutes of the movie, all this stuff. A lot's happening. It's like, anyway.
Yeah, and then the DJ finds out that the car chases began in their building, and he's like, stay tuned to 1280 Constant Country K-Fox.
Yeah, and then he has a roving reporter on top of that even. Anyway, am I cutting ahead there?
No, but like you were saying, he's like tracking the action after all this happens. And that's the funny
just like
part.
Vanishing Point.
Yeah, exactly. So there's people on the sidewalk, watching a lot of these stunts, and sometimes they look like and I don't know if these are actual actors, they're dodging the car because it's like driving up on the sidewalks, and
it looks too real.
It's insane. Yeah. And like I said, he had a lot of friends in the police force because this happens over like 5 different towns: Carson, Long Beach,
and even Los Angeles, from what I can tell.
Los Angeles
area.
Torrance, on that South LA area. And so,
because at one point you see the exterior of CBS, which my dad had a friend that worked at CBS when I was a little kid, and I've been to that same I'm sorry to name drop, but I've seen that same exterior, dude. That's like, I was like watching this movie going, oh my God, that's what the CBS exterior looked like in 1973. Oh my God. Wow. I've been there.
Yeah. It's a lot of LA landmarks. And this movie really is a slice of life. You see LA in the 70s.
This is really like a travel log back to literally time travel log, really, I should say, back to 1973, 1974, Southern California, what it looked like.
Yeah, how people were dressed, what everything looked like, and it's fascinating from that point of view.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, there's times when he piles up cars on the freeway. Like, how did he get the freeway shut down so that he could wreck 10 cars? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
That's why I'm saying it looks too real. I mean, a lot of times I'm like, sometimes like the way those people just move aside on the sidewalk when you see that POV shot.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why does that look too real? Like they didn't know that was coming. They didn't see it coming.
And that's another thing is I love it. So you see him driving a lot, and this is Halicki doing almost all the driving in this Eleanor. I don't know how many Eleanors there were. I think there was
doing his own stunts, right? And even sacrificing 2 ribs.
Oh God. God, yeah.
In the process,
I'll
apparently.
get to that in a second, but I want to talk about filming this. So
Talk about giving your ribs for a movie and money.
Pound of flesh, blood, sweat, and tears went into this movie.
A pound of flesh and 2 ribs, yes.
But I want to go back to the dash cam. You see his point of view a lot, which really brings the movie alive, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a well-balanced film. And whether he intended to do this or not, or just had a bunch of footage and this was all came out in the editing.
That's the beauty of it, too. It doesn't have flashy camera mounts in these scenes. There's a guy in the back seat or next to him, Halicki shooting him, inside the car, usually right over his shoulder when he's doing it.
I think he's just driving. I think they mounted a camera in the car, right?
Oh,
and
I think
you
you're
see
right.
a lot
Maybe
of him just driving. I don't think anyone, hopefully no one's in that damn car with them. But it's just sort of masterful for a low-budget film.
Yeah.
And then the sound of the engine roaring. It's very visceral.
It is, man. Like, you feel like you're doing it. You feel like you're in the moment watching it even. There's so much energy to the scene. Hot-wired energy.
Hot-wired energy. And then there's scenes on the highway where you know he's just driving on the shoulder around people and just like, these aren't paid actors, you know what I mean?
That's what I wonder too. Like, oh my God, that car he had to pay them off, didn't he? Surely he paid them off.
I don't know. I think he was just hauling ass on the freeway, cutting through people. I swear, in some of this. Definitely. It doesn't look like these people know what the hell's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Eleanor is getting beat the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of it. That's why I don't think there were like multiple cars. I think it was just one car that they had. Maybe a couple for different shots. But
I know on Smokey and the Bandit, they went through 2 or 3 Firebird cars because they just kept wrecking them a lot of times, you know? Because they went back to Firebird at one point and were like, can we get one more? And they were like, and it took some tug of war playing just to get it for the movie for free, you know?
Okay, so Jordan, then we meet Billy. Who is Billy, Jordan?
Wait, which one is Billy now? I forgot. Is he the guy? Which guy?
Billy is an old beat-up Cadillac, right? And there's a bunch of Utes in the car rolling joints and smoking the marijuana cigarettes.
Oh, I love these guys. They look like the 70s version of that movie Friday almost. Yeah, just a bunch of guys, brothers, smoking joints. I love them, man. I love these guys. Love these brothers, man. I want to hang with these guys. I felt like I was with them because I was getting high. And I was like, the way the camera is positioned in this scene, you are in the back seat of the car with these guys. It is cool, man. You love these guys. These guys are the most likable guys in the movie.
It's just a bunch of kids getting high, just, being dumb.
And they're doing nobody no harm.
Yeah.
Driving around getting high. Nothing. In that big-ass pimpin' Cadillac.
They get their car wrecked because of this, but we keep going back. Randomly, for no reason, we keep going back and forth to Billy, right?
Yeah.
Which is all these... And Billy is the car. It even says Billy on the side. It's the only male name of a car. All the other cars...
They kind of drove in from another movie, though, I guess. Huh? Is that what you're saying?
Billy got
like
lost.
They drove in from a car wash or, thank God it's Friday or some shit.
The car wash. Yeah. And exactly. That's what it's like. And it's so strange that Halicki would have those guys in there. But the guy who played Atlee is George Cole.
Yeah.
And I don't know if these guys are related, but Anthony Cole, Michael Cole, and Mark Cole are some of the guys that are in Billy.
Those are all my brothers.
Yeah. And so I don't know if this is like grandkids or I don't know, relatives, friends. I don't know. I just think it's interesting that they all had the same last name.
Those are my Coles.
The Cole family and the Halicki family made a movie. So anyway,
the Coles and the Halickis go way back.
They go way back. Been stealing cars for years. I mean,
maybe they are like all his brothers and sisters and cousins and whatnot.
Well, they're kids. I mean, they're teenagers, so I don't know. But I think that's such an interesting choice, and it's a comedic. I mean, it's funny, and Halicki, I think.
But they look like real SoCal kids from that time period,
Slice
obviously.
of life.
Yeah,
Slice
once
of life,
again,
man.
like they look like real SoCal time kids, like any kids in the 70s.
But I think, isn't that so interesting? I guess this sort of comedic interlude here as this chase is going on. And I think Halicki had like good instincts as a filmmaker.
He probably got them all for free too, of course, because they were like family of another guy in the movie. So yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's what I want you guys to do. Get high, ride in this car and wreck it. Okay, can you do that? And then, I mean.
Yeah, here, I'll buy the weed even. Here.
Don't ask where I got this. But anyway, Billy is just such a great character in this movie. It's weird to talk about cars as characters, But let's go back to Eleanor. So Eleanor,
The star, Eleanor.
the star of the movie, the only credit really at the beginning, the 73 Mustang.
Yeah, 1973 Ford Mustang. Yeah.
My dad actually, when I was a kid, had a 71 Mach 1. So I'm very familiar with this type of vehicle. But it's actually,
I had
think,
a friend that had a 77 Mustang, kind of like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a different. Yeah, but okay. But this was the last of the big muscle car kind of Mustangs, I guess, from that era.
Yeah.
And
that's cool that your dad had one, man. That's pretty sweet.
yeah, it wasn't this pimped out, but I read somewhere that it was actually like a 1971 Mustang that Halicki had. He like changed the instrument bezels or the headlamp bezels or whatever to make it look like a 73.
Interesting.
So Eleanor is the character, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting how cars are characters, but it's like whenever Halicki gets into the car,
Yeah.
he and Eleanor become one.
Mm-hmm.
Eleanor ceases to become a MacGuffin. It's kind of like a trusty horse, you know what I mean? Or something like that.
Like
Eleanor
Trigger.
ceases to be the object that you're stealing and becomes a character in this movie.
Now that you say it like this, see, Eleanor's more akin to or closer to and related to like the Millennium Falcon and Star Wars being a character.
Exactly.
With Han Solo. Or
yeah.
The DeLorean Time Machine and Doc and Marty are
exactly
the MacGuffin kind of connected in a way.
The MacGuffin kind of has a personality of its own, and it becomes more than just an object. Eleanor becomes a character.
Yeah, it's more than an object; it becomes a character. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not talking like Christine or these movies or Kit from the old Knight Rider show. Those were they actually had personalities. But this is it's one of those things where the object itself, I don't know, I'm sure there's some word for this.
It's the spirit of it, I guess. The spirit of Eleanor, Or like Batman to the Batmobile, if you want a quick reference.
Yeah, because he is hauling ass.
Yeah.
He is hauling ass in this, and Eleanor's taking a lick. But it's just such an interesting thing because, unbelievably, Halicki's doing all his stunts. He's doing all the driving.
Yeah.
He's blocking all these shots. He's setting it all up. He's wrecking all these cars. Because I think in the course of this 40-minute chase scene, we have 93 cars or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Get wrecked.
You can tell there's that part where he hits am I cutting ahead, where he hits the pole on the freeway?
Well, let's get to it.
The light pole.
Yeah.
I mean, rams right into it, knocks it over, knocks it down.
Yeah, there's a scene where he gets clipped by a Cadillac during this scene, and luckily they got the footage, and just sideswipes, spins around, and just lands, knocks over this light pole. And this was not planned.
It looks real. It looks painful, but man, I mean, talk about suffering for your art, Halicki, man.
Yeah. And like you said, he broke a couple ribs, man.
He gave 2 ribs for this movie, people.
And unplanned, but they had roll cages, everything in this car. It was really outfitted to take that kind of a hit. But
really?
Still,
I was wondering about that, if it was outfitted, because I know stuntmen, when they do car chases, they later modified it after a certain point in the 1980s, where they had these kind of bouncy chairs that were installed in the driver's seat. That way you weren't strapped into one area and it wouldn't hurt your spine, hopefully, or break your back. You would bounce with the wreck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was the beauty of it. That way, if the car turned over, you'd be fine. And whatever, if the car bounced, you wouldn't feel it in your butt and your spine, so to speak, as they say.
I don't think it was that technical. Yeah, I think it was more like outfitting it for stock car racing or something. I think he had roll cages and certain things. Like those cars are meant to be wrecked and still roll.
Probably what worked for him at the time, or what he knew at the time, I guess. Probably.
What he knew and got with people. But yeah, so pretty much.
He still got hurt, obviously.
Man, dude, you're just like, God damn. And that was.
Poor guy.
They left it in the movie. And then later on, there's this this jump, which is classic, the big jump in the movie. There's a roadblock of wrecked cars, and then what happens, Jordan? So toward the end of the chase, Eleanor's screaming, down the highway, beat up after that light bulb
thing. Mean, where Eleanor goes over all that wreckage of cars, makes a leap over that wreckage of cars, does a Knight Rider turbo, if you will, leap. Yeah. Damn.
Huge stunt. Eleanor launches into the air, escaping the cops. I mean, because the cops are stopped by the roadblock. The roadblock that he started, part of his wreckage. He's tearing through L.A. and causing all this damage.
I was watching this scene again because lately I watched the movie right up until the podcast a lot of times just to keep it fresh in my brain. But I was on that scene, I kept just stopping, and I was drinking a beer off to the side next to the window looking at the screen, and I kept just stopping, leaning over the chair going, man, just marveling over that scene, just like going, damn. And I had to rewind it, look at it again even, like, because it was I just had to marvel over it. Anyway.
And so you can see people in the background on the hillside as they're doing this. Like it was people were out watching this thing. They got it in slow motion. It's a huge stunt. It's so good that we have to see it 3 times in slow motion. You know what I mean?
He shot it. It looked like he actually shot it with 3 cameras though, because you could see it from another angle.
Different angles. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing for this kind of budgeted movie that he had coverage like that.
Shut down a road, the city let him do it, and,
yeah, that's pretty miraculous too. Yeah.
And he compacted, I think, 10 vertebrae in his spine. He survived, but I mean, his family said he never walked the same after that stunt. Like he survived that stunt. That was Halicki in it.
Yeah.
No, I really do think that this movie, and I'll get to this a little later, was lightning in a bottle in a lot of ways.
True.
So fantastic shot there. That's at the end of the chase scene. But in the middle, we sort of see this beautiful scene. And it kind of reminds me of, we talked about Born Losers a long time ago with Billy Jack. And there's a scene where you see the bikes come up over the hill. In this scene, you see Eleanor come up over this hill, and then you just see wave after wave after wave of police cars. It must be 20-something police cars chasing him.
That's right. I love that part. Yeah, I love this part.
It's just beautiful. It's just like, just a great shot, classic shot. But during this, and I'll go back to this, but there's the weird morality of this particular movie. Like, we see a lot of people, there's a certain point where you begin to see a lot of people on stretchers. Right?
Yeah.
You begin to see the actual damage all this has caused. You see the first responders. You see everybody bleeding and people helping people out of cars and stuff.
That's the weird thing. He shows that. He shows people being carried away on stretchers and shit. You don't normally see that.
Yeah, it's like they don't want to glorify it. Like it's super cool. This guy's evading the cops, but then eventually, I guess he wants to show. I'm sure he got some pressure from the cops and other people to say, well, you can't show this guy getting away scot-free. You got to show that there's some consequences here or something.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to glorify this kind of thing for people. But yeah, you do see people injured and you're just kind of like, well, what's going on here? How am I supposed to feel about this whole thing? Is this awesome and cool? Or is this really shitty that hundreds of cars are wrecked and whatever, and property damage and people are injured and going to the hospital? Like, how am I supposed to feel about this?
I know. I forgot about all that too, watching this again. I was like, I forgot that he showed all that. Like, he showed all the aftermath of like people getting hit. And he actually did show that some of them got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have time to worry about that, Jordan, because Eleanor got away. After that big jump, the cops are effectively stopped at that wreckage.
Oh, yes. Is this where he goes to the car wash?
Yeah, he goes to the car wash. And
sneaks out through the car wash? Yeah.
He sees another Eleanor.
Exactly identical, yes. Fresh. No damage,
Fresh
no
Eleanor.
dents. Exactly the same color, make, model. My God. It's amazing, a miracle.
Miracle. And then he drops the car off of the car wash, and the car wash attendant's like, what happened to your car? He's like, you're like, those parking lot attendants, it's just like,
and it's once again, it's like a housewife or something, a pissed off housewife. Like, what is with the pissed off housewives and all these nice cars they're getting?
And then, so he's like, just wash it, don't wax it. And the car is wrecked. The car is destroyed. And
with all of its dents in the front and everything, its headlight taken out on that other part of it, and just all the bumper and everything is just dented up to shit. Like, yeah, and it just comes right out of the car wash fresh.
So the other Eleanor, the fresh one, is like coming out of the car wash, and the housewife is about to get in. And he's like, ma'am, they have to rewash your car. Can you go back by the manager's office? And she's like, they just wash it. It's like, no, I'm sorry. They got to rewash it. So she's like, okay. He just gets in the car and drives away like a boss. Like, this whole movie, you could just steal a car by walking up to somebody who's about to get into their own car and giving us some half-assed excuse like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no problem.
Once again, if you take a time machine back to 1973, you may not have a problem stealing a car to get around. Maybe, just judging by this movie, if you don't know anything.
Jordan, I think I've just answered for myself the age-old question. If you had a time machine, what would you do? I'd go back to 1974 and steal some cars because I know I have a handbook on how to do this shit now.
I was stealing Eleanor.
And so the last joke of the movie is, well, not the last joke, but the final, I guess, coup de grace, the wrapping up the chase scene. He gets away with Eleanor, and then the lady sees the wrecked ass other car come out of the car wash, and like she faints. And then the manager of the car wash is there with her.
We kind of feel bad for her as the audience too.
Yeah, I know
a little bit. I'm kind of like, having been in a few accidents myself, I'm just kind of like,
she gets her car stolen.
What the fuck?
And he takes off the wig and he takes off his mustache, and the manager of the car wash has gray hair and a mustache, and the cops roll up and they think it's him.
Yeah.
The driver of the car, they think it's Pace. And so then they arrest the manager of the car wash, and then it's blasted on, I know, and so it's like, then the calls out on the police radio, we caught the guy. And luckily, because Pace is stopped at a like a roadblock, a police roadblock.
Yeah.
And right as cops like, give me your license. He's like, oh, my license, it's here somewhere, you know. And then he hears like, okay, we've caught the guy, because they think it's him. And he's like, no, we've caught the guy, whatever. And the cop waves him on. And it's just a very tense, fun scene.
Mm-hmm,
So he got away, Jordan. He got away.
He got away. Unlike, well, I mean, some 70s people. Is he the villain in this movie? Is he the how is that? No,
is he the hero? Is Eleanor?
I'm just kidding.
Maybe poor Eleanor is the hero.
I didn't even ask that question. I've never asked that question watching this movie. Is he the hero? Well, is he the villain? I don't know. It's the 70s. It's like, you know. Well, the only thing it's the interesting thing is he doesn't die or anything.
Exactly. This is the antithesis to 70s movies. Like, normally the main hero dies.
Yeah.
Like, he would get, like, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, you get away at the end, and then...
He didn't die in a shootout or some shit.
Jeff Bridges didn't die at the end of this movie, right?
A cop
you know what I mean?
Fatally punch him, and then he got away and drove away, and then died on the road and had a seizure in his brain or some shit. No, none of that.
It's not like you think he's getting away, and then like the cop realizes what he does and like shoots through the car.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then, like, or like the end of Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia.
Yeah.
Same shit. No, he gets away. It's a happy ending in the 70s. Like,
or
what
some
the
really
fuck?
bad ending where the two cops were chasing him finally and really on his tail, and one like reached out the other side of the car and shot at him and shot him off the road, and it killed him somehow.
Yeah, like
some Easy Rider
or something. Yeah.
He's like, hey, I think I can get him if you hold close on him like this. All right, get up next to him. Okay.
No, he gets away. There's a happy ending because, and let me tell you why it's a happy ending, because 48 cars were stolen, millions of dollars in property damage, people injured, going to the hospital, and now some drug dealers have some cars.
And he left.
It's a happy ending,
and he
right?
survived all that in one piece. You know, in this movie, at least he did. His character did. Pace did.
Maybe that is the nihilism, the 70s nihilism. It's we're rooting for a guy and like all this damage and all this theft and all this shit. And maybe that's the 70s nihilistic ending. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. The bad guy's going to get away, right?
You gotta love it, man. The lead character's name is Pace, and he's there to pace the plot along as well to the end.
He does. Good one,
happy
Jordan.
Ending.
Good one.
I couldn't help it.
Been sitting on that one all podcast, huh?
It was brewing under my buttocks, yes.
Yeah, let's not talk about what's under your buttocks, Jordan. Okay, so Pace breaks the fourth wall at the end. He sees Billy. We encounter Billy, and Billy is still chugging along, right? And all the guys talking about going to this party later, and then their engine blows. And this is a very quotable movie. There's several big quotes. And then one of the guys says, "Oh my goodness gracious." And I've said that many times in my life privately. Oh my goodness gracious. And when the engine blows.
Yeah, no, me too. Well, I've said worse things than that, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Pace looks at Billy and he says, "See you around, Billy." And it's weird because Eleanor and Billy meet up. They've been in these two parallel tracks in this movie. And there's something weird going on here and something metaphorical and symbolic. I don't know what it is, but it's there. And I think it's lightning in a bottle, like I said.
In a parallel universe, see, Pace drove Billy. Billy was his Eleanor in the other universe. And now join my next podcast, William Shatner Explains.
So here's the counter. The non-car counter is if you're paying attention, there's many casualties to this whole spree. There's one couch that gets wrecked, one boat, one car was cut in half.
Yeah, but there's a lot of cars that are wrecked in this movie.
There's a lot of cars are wrecked, but one car was cut in half.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
One garbage truck, one shopping cart and groceries. And I think a total, and I haven't counted them all, but 127 cars were wrecked in this film, 93 during that chase scene alone. I don't know if that includes Eleanor. But,
oh, my God. We got to add an old cash register sound effect right there.
Cha-ching,
just
cha-ching.
right. Cha-ching, yeah.
So anyways, I mean, Halicki bought all those cars, presumably, and fixed them all up good enough to wreck them again.
Just to drive them and wreck them, yeah.
The man had a vision of wrecking cars, and this all feels so real. Like you said earlier.
Yeah, that's what's amazing overall about this movie. What is it? Is it like almost like back when Robert Rodriguez made El Mariachi for just a few grand on 16 millimeter? We all marveled about that. That was after all this in the 90s, but it's that same kind of thing, I think, where you marvel over like what this guy had available to him and he used to his best knowledge and advantage. Like he didn't really come from a heavy filmmaking background, clearly. Technical knowledge he didn't come from. No, he was not a film student.
No, but he had good instincts. Now, I will say, Jordan.
And that's all it is at the end of it when you're making this kind of stuff is it's your instincts. In filmmaking, that's what it is, though. Whether you edit or direct, it's about what you think feels right.
And what you want to see.
Yeah. Where that comes from, though, nobody fucking knows, in my opinion. Like, I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like. You know what I mean? But that's what it all comes down to. And Halicki, you're right. He had good instincts. That's what it all mattered at the end of it all. It wasn't technical know-how or anything. This is before all that kind of stuff. This is, he probably didn't know about Eisenstein or anybody like that editorially or anything, whatever.
Yeah.
No.
So I think this movie in some ways you can like I mentioned Phantom Menace earlier. That's a movie I've always said is built around a pod racing scene.
The pod race is the really greatest part of Phantom Menace, other than the lightsaber stuff, which is really well stunted by Nick Gilliard and company and all them. But
but the pod racing, I've always said it's a movie built around that scene, and there's really not a lot going on around it story wise. I mean, don't get me started. But a lot of people could say that too. This is a 40-minute car chase sequence with a movie built around it. But I think honestly, a lot of the moments before the car chase sequence. That's really the movie's third act is the car chase sequence are just as interesting. Them stealing the cars, how they steal the cars, the shit with the drugs, the Eugene Pace thing. That's all interesting to me as well.
I agree. All the people we meet, all these people that are played by non-actor friends of Halicki's and clearly
cousins. Brothers.
No, I think they're all, that's the weird thing. And that just shows you one thing else. Film students out there, once again, it's like actors, no matter where they come from, will always make something interesting more than a set piece or anything you can find.
And I mean, even a movie without a plot per se, I think that you could have even had a 10-minute chase sequence at the end. It wouldn't have been long enough for a full feature-length movie, but that would have satisfied me. I've been like, oh, this is a movie about stealing some cars, and they did it at the end and whatever. But then you get this whole other animal, and this movie transforms into this massive heroic epic chase sequence. So it just becomes another thing. You already like this movie, and that's why I think the legacy of this movie can't be understated. It is like lightning in a bottle, but it all works accidentally, and it doesn't hurt to have a bunch of cars wrecked. That's fun to watch, it turns out.
I wish more younger people did. I don't know. A lot of people know that there is a movie beyond I don't know if people realize that Gone in 60 Seconds, the Bruckheimer Nicolas Cage movie we're referring to from 2001, or 2000 is like a remake of this movie. I think people mostly know that version more. I just wish more people would discover this movie, though, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know about that. It's a different film from a different era.
But I honestly didn't know it. I didn't realize it existed until I was first friends with you.
Yeah, because they get around the morality in the remake because he's saving Giovanni Ribisi. He's saving his brother, right? So he has to do this. Yeah. He's trying to get out of the game, and he has to do this. This movie, no, he's just straight up stealing cars.
That's what I love about this movie.
But he draws the line at drug dealing. This
movie's like Michael Mann made a car chase movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like a short car chase movie at 90 minutes or whatever. That's what it reminds me of. Like,
Yeah.
it's that level, in my opinion, because it's so realistic. It's like what Michael Mann later did in Heat, the second time around when he did Heat.
Yeah.
1995 version.
The whole is greater than the sum of the parts in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I will say that it does suffer from its non-standard plot arc. It's not perfect. There's a lot of vignettes and scenes that I like that don't really mean anything. Maybe people don't think the jokes are funny anymore.
I agree.
It is very 70s.
I agree. There's those moments where it feels like first-time filmmaker kind of moments where you're like, okay, buddy, cut around that. You could have cut around that. You're cool, but you could have done it without that.
Like that hippie guy at the car wash, I didn't think he was even that funny. I thought that was pretty dumb. I think a lot of the jokes land, but that was pretty dumb.
I'm going to say he was the worst actor ever, that guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to that guy. Sorry.
Too bad he didn't get carried off in a stretcher. Ooh, sorry. Just kidding.
Yeah, he was
mean.
Oh, I don't know what we forgot to go into detail. It wasn't really well. It was interesting kind of because they steal Lyle Wagner's car. We don't see Lyle Wagner in this movie. He's only referred to. It's an interesting thing.
We see his picture in Playgirl.
Yeah. Which I kind of love, that the fact that they stole Lyle Wagner's car and he's not even in the movie. That's so cool, actually. Like, that's like actually almost having him and not, like, that's his presence in the movie, not being in the movie at the same time. You know, that's like he phoned it in without even phoning him. That's like Lyle Wagner didn't even know he was mentioned in this movie, I bet, honestly. Who knows, I wonder. I wonder if he even did know, you know. But that's kind of cool. Like, think about what if we just made a whole movie around stealing a celebrity's car and you never saw that celebrity the whole time? You know what I mean? We stole their car and returned it, and you never saw them the whole time, other than a picture in a magazine of them or a picture on the internet referred to them. You know, like, hey, we're gonna break into Leonardo DiCaprio's garage. Yeah. And we're going to steal one of his sweet-ass cars. And he's got an original Maltese Falcon. We're going to take that too, by the way.
Or stealing John Malkovich's Prius. You know?
Yeah, that's a title right there. Stealing John Malkovich's Prius. There you go. There's the movie. I think we have a movie, Anthony.
I'll not write it, and we'll just wreck our cars together. How about that? Anyway, so Jordan, does this movie deserve a remake or a sequel? That's the question we normally ask, but I think in this case it had
get a
both.
Sequel, didn't it? And a remake. That's the thing, right?
Well,
sort of, yes.
We know about the remake, but it did have a sequel, unfortunately.
I kind of remember this sequel.
Yeah. So Junkman was made in 1982, a movie I'm putting it out there that it probably is one of the best trailers of all time. It promises a movie 10 times better than Gone in 60 Seconds.
I remember the trailer too, yes. I think you and I tried to sit through Junkman. It was really hard to get
It's a piece of shit. It's a junky.
But the trailer is better. Yeah, the trailer is awesome.
It's a junkyard of a movie. Yeah, and maybe we'll have the trailer at the end of this, just so people can judge for themselves. Junkman.
The audio version of the Junkman trailer for you folks out there, yes.
Yes, for your listening pleasure. And unfortunately, Halicki wanted to make a sequel to Gone in 60 Seconds.
Another sequel on top of Junkman.
Well, it feels like a sequel, but Junkman's not really a sequel. It was more of a meta follow-up where a guy got rich off a car crash movie and then, is being chased by people later on. So it's not a true sequel.
Yeah.
But then Deadline Auto Theft comes along the next year where he basically had to cash in later when he reused a bunch of footage from Junkman and Gone in 60 Seconds we won't talk about. But he did attempt to make a movie Gone in 60 Seconds too in 1989. Unfortunately...
That was around the time he died though, yeah? Oh, sorry.
Well, he was killed. Not in a car, but he was killed in an accident making that film in 1989. And then his widow helped license and get the sequel made in 2000.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he was...
Or the remake made in 2000, you mean?
Or, sorry, not the sequel, the remake made in 2000.
The Bruckheimer, Nicolas Cage. Angelina Jolie remake.
Yeah, so it's very unfortunate and very sad. But yeah, he was killed, and you can look up the details of that if you want to. But it was a great loss. It's a shame that he never attained that height again. You know,
Yeah.
Junkman was his great opportunity, and it just isn't anything like Gone in 60 Seconds because I think it's beginner's luck. I think it's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, the biggest thing, the weirdest things, the things I remember about Junkman most prominently were it had a Godarian like a Jean-Luc Godarian quality. Here comes the deep cut reference here. Like, meaning it was kind of self-referencing.
Film students, turn to chapter 5.
Yeah.
Go on, Jordan.
Turn to chapter 5, film students. Jean-Luc Godard, French filmmaker. Godard would break the fourth wall a lot. He would Ferris Bueller a lot for you people out there. For the layman version, he would talk to the audience a lot. Break the fourth wall. Junkman did that a lot oddly. That was what was weird. It was kind of like a half sequel to Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah.
That was a weird thing. It wasn't really... It didn't feel like a sequel. That was the problem with it.
It's weird. Maybe we should do a whole episode on Junkman, Jordan. I don't know. It deserves a greater, broader discussion.
I was gonna say that the interesting side note was he shot it on his property, a good chunk of it, and you could see how much money he had made from Gone in 60 Seconds and what he had left over prop wise. That was the interesting part of Junkman, I remember.
Yeah. Well, speaking of money, Jordan, on a budget of $150,000. Now, keep in mind,
$150,000? My God, Anthony.
A lot of cars you got to wreck. Yeah, but that's a very cheap movie. That's ridiculously cheap.
In Hollywood, that's a TV budget back then, I think. That's a TV segment back then, maybe.
Yeah, that's an episode almost.
Yeah,
Jeez,
it's a cop show episode back then.
So, and remember, he self-financed this movie. I don't know if he got outside financing. I don't know the details, but a lot of this was this junkyard business, right?
Whether he saved the money or pooled it from his own or.
Yeah. Maybe he got all those car dealerships that he wrecked the cars in to put in some money. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he mortgaged a house or something like that. Or
maybe it was Coke Beer gave him some cash. I don't know.
Probably.
This podcast is brought to you by Coke Beer. Coke Beer.
Coke Beer,
For all your Polish weddings.
And Olympia.
I'm surprised we didn't see Olympia Beer in this movie.
No shit.
But this movie made $40 million. $40 million. Now, wow. I don't know if that's total gross over the years. I don't know where that number comes from. I was trying to chase it down. But damned, I know it was a very, very popular movie at the time.
That's a box office hit, though. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
40 million.
That's like what a Planet of the Apes movie would make back then. You know,
why didn't the studios come running to Halicki to make another movie like this? Was it the liability? I don't know. I don't understand making that kind of cash. Let's say he made 10 million. I don't even trust that.
I wonder that. Well, yeah, that's a good question. What happened in that area? Did he turn offers down? I mean, did he just? That had to be what it was. Surely people were calling him at that point. I wonder if he just turned shit down because he was just wanted to do shit his way.
Yeah, and maybe he realized very quickly. He lived in Hollywood. He probably heard stories.
Yeah,
probably just didn't want to work for anyone else. He wanted to be his own boss, and it takes. I don't know what he did with all that money, Jordan. And I don't know. We got Junkman almost 10 years later. It probably took years to make that movie, but yeah.
But of course, in Hollywood, once you just start, ignoring the phone after a while, it'll stop ringing. Even back then.
Or maybe his reputation preceded him and they were scared away. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jordan, so what kind of rating do you give this fine film?
I give this 8 out of 10 cool, groovy sunglasses on a dashboard of a car. of a Ford Mustang.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The two, maybe the weakness being the script, but because it's a hard plot to follow, but you really shouldn't think about the plot when you watch this. It's really it's just about getting to the car chases, Yeah. That's really what this movie's about. Don't think about the plot when you watch it, folks out there. No, just have fun. Have yourselves fun when you're watching Gone in 60 Seconds, folks. What kind of rating do you give this, Anthony?
Thank you. And thank you for doing it out of 10, Jordan. I don't have to do math this week.
I tried to keep it like that just for you.
You're a gentleman. Thank you, sir. I say...
I read my horoscope today, yes.
I do it the same, 8 out of 10. It's near perfect. But yeah, script problems. The fun of the movie covers up a lot of the real legitimate problems. If you can't look at this as like a real movie because there are problems everywhere.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
if you were to really analyze this deeply as a film school professor snob type, was going to pick apart the script of this movie, you'd be like picking it apart all over the goddamn place, and you'd be like, it just lacks this and that, and explaining here and there and all that. But just ignore it. This is all about stealing cars and getting to the car chase away from it. That's all this movie's about, and that's all you have to know going in and appreciate it for that much. After a while.
Yeah. It's like the part of your brain that likes Smoking the Bandit is really going to love this movie.
That's what it's
I mean?
about.
Don't think about it. Yeah.
This is a movie about the spectacle of the stunts. I mean, all movies have spectacles that we go for, whether it be a dramatic spectacle or a spectacular spectacle or a big special effect spectacle, or many of those in one movie, or whether it's making somebody laugh as a spectacle even, and you have all that together in a movie to make a blockbuster. But that's what this has. That's what spectacle about this movie is its car chases and all that stuff, I think.
But I would say it's even better than like CGI, because that's fake. And this is real. Like, this isn't even stunt people. This is Halicki jumping cars and Halicki hitting a pole.
Exactly.
Like,
it's
holy
the same
shit.
reason when you watch the older James Bond movies, just for the stunts. Because they're real most of the time. When they do a skydiving scene in a James Bond movie in the 70s, that they did half of it for real.
This isn't Fast and Furious 11. This is like
that's the beauty of it too. There's no miniatures here. There's no miniature cars even being wrecked. This is real fucking life-size cars
or anything.
No CGI, nothing like that. That's the beauty of this, folks.
If you and I wrecked our cars, that's what this movie is like. So
I am shocked if any rednecks out there have seen Smoking the Bandit and have not seen this movie. I am shocked. If you're like into Smoking the Bandit out there and you have not seen this movie, go back, see Gone in 60 Seconds, 1974. Not the 2001 Nicolas Cage. We'll watch that after if you haven't seen it.
I mean, that's okay. That's
a good one. I'm not dissing that version. That's a good one. Yeah. It's a notable remake.
Yeah. But anyways, Jordan, it's been great talking to you about movies.
Great talking to you about movies, especially this one. You introduced me to this one, as I remember, and I'm glad you did. It's one of my favorite movies from the 1970s, honestly, as of date now. Just like Race with the Devil, another movie you recommended, another movie about car chases and shit.
Wow. I'm glad those two movies stand out for you, because there was a bunch of shit movies like Humanoids from the Deep.
There was also Shrieker the Mutilated, which we also reviewed on this podcast. I mean, and Humanoids the Deep,
Hey, they can't all be gone in 60 seconds anyway. Well, we're gone in more than 60 minutes here. So everyone, thank you for listening. We appreciate every one of you. Listen to our other episodes if you like this. Smash those buttons, the good ones. If you like this, feel free to rate and review us. And thanks again. And Jordan, this has been
The Robots Took My Podcast. I should have checked my horoscope this morning.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Junkman.
Grips, get ready. I want to dive on this Jaguar. Lights on the hood. We're going to run down the riverbed. Hoy, we're going to have a little action here, babe.
From the maker of Gone in 60 Seconds, the chase thriller of the 70s, comes the chase thriller of the 80s, The Junkman. From junk cars to movie stars, Harlan Hollis is the American dream, worth millions, and now someone wants it all.
Yeah, the junk man lives with his life on the line. They're trying to kill him and he's running out of time. He loves his cars and he loves his child. He's a millionaire and born too wild.
Michael, why do they call him the junk man? Before he decided to get into the movie-making business, he was in the auto junk business, and now he collects stuff.
Fans from around the world gather here to pay tribute to a great American legend, the brilliant star of East of Eden, Giant, and the classic Rebel Without a Cause.
Harlan B. Hollis will hereafter be referred to only as the target.
Deadly assassins with their aircraft and speeding cars close in for the kill. He did his own stunts in his movies, but this time he's driving for his life. The Junkman brings you intense high-speed action. Witness the destruction of over 150 vehicles in some of the most daring airplane, car, and blimp stunts ever filmed.
Yeah, the junk man drives like a bat out of hell. His dreams come true like a ring in a bell. The bombs and the bullets are coming his way, and his money won't help him get away today.
It's time to put the fun back in the theater with entertainment for the entire family. The Junkman, 2 years in the making. The chase thriller of the 80s. Rated PG.
Junkman.
All trailers, clips, music, or any other copyrighted material are used sparingly, edited from their original forms, and used for the purposes of criticism, discussion, commentary, and education about these fine films.